Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I am the Athletic Geek, joined by.
Argonoid Zero is very tired from plowing his driveway for the third time in 24 hours.
Woo!
it's snowing a lot at the time of this recording.
You need some of this.
I'm gonna be getting some of this as soon as
Yeah, that too. But
this thing's
I
over.
want to reach through and just hand you a cup.
The
But
last time I had coffee when I was a very young child, and my World War II vet grandfather gave me his nuclear grade stuff that he had when he was a police officer.
I
So
want to
it's just,
try that.
Woo!
I want some of that. I want some of that.
There was straight nitrous in that stuff.
I mean, it's not the best tasting stuff, but
No.
you give me like one of those, that sort of coffee, like before I'm supposed to go do something. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh,
give me
yeah.
that before I go to work. Give me that before I have to do something.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love it.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So on this episode, we are going to talk about the pre-MCU Marvel movies because, we've said on this show in the past, literally in our first ever episode we did together, that after Batman and Robin, the superhero movie genre kind of fell onto its ass for a minute. And superhero movies weren't cool. They weren't supposed to happen. And then, slowly but surely they started bringing them back in, and they were pretty well all. I know there's Spawn, but
That movie's
Spawn
still a
wasn't.
fever dream when I think about it.
Yeah, and that isn't really a. I mean, it became kind of more mainstream, but Spawn was. It definitely wasn't what people think. It wasn't your stuff that most of us would see on Saturday mornings being put onto the big screen.
No.
Um,
Ooh.
so eventually they started slowly but surely phasing them back in, and then before we even got to the the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was the second movie, but the Dark Knight universe and the MCU, which really strapped the rocket ship onto it. There were movies that were making superhero movies, bringing them back to the forefront and really helping us nerds legitimize
Mm-hmm.
us nerds and what we want to see. At least in cinema, we had
Oh, yeah.
Smallville to kind of sort of maybe on the television, which take that for what it is. But I want to say the first movie that and again they kind of started small with this because he's not really a superhero, and his context aren't really that of what a normal superhero would go through.
Are you looking at the same list that I am? Because I think I know what you
No,
are.
I'm just going. I'm going
Okay.
off of my memory. That's why I'm hoping with your list, if I have a discrepancy, it can help me. I'm going with Blade. The first one was Blade.
No, my first one's Howard the Duck on my list.
No, I was going with Blade.
Okay, no, I get you there. Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like that was them kind of, at least, he's a Marvel character, but he's not a superhero. Or at least if you consider him a superhero, he's not a superhero like Spider-Man or...
He is an anti-hero, as we like to call them in some circles.
Yeah. And because of his, just the very nature of Blade, you can kind of start dipping your toes back in that water, but kind of like there's going to be some Marvel and Blade fans are going to want to burn me at the stake for saying this, but it's kind of like Smallville, and I do not know what my camera is doing right now, so I apologize if that's distracting.
You're good.
I hope I'm being heard okay.
You're being heard just.
I hope the recording is picking me up okay. So
you're good. You're good.
All right. it has that Smallville sort of plausible deniability of if superheroes, seeing as how superhero was still somewhat of a dirty word then,
Oh yeah.
or dirty phrase, um, it kind of had that, no, but we're not, see?
No.
That's my comparison to Blade and Smallville. I'm okay. That's no, but we're not. It's not superheroes, so we're okay. Don't be afraid to to take a chance on us, studios. It's not superheroes.
Yes.
It's a vampire hunter, and just Clark Kent is a teenager doing teen drama and some action. We're not we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
This is really weird, and I do not understand it. But my camera, so
It's all
I
right.
feel like I'm in like a 90s like music video, like
Yeah. I, to me, I wouldn't go that far, but it's just one of those things that where they had something they could completely remove from anything that would tell you it's in Marvel Comics. And
yes,
do it in a way that was natural and not in a way that they're going out of their way to say it wasn't in Marvel.
yeah,
Because I
fair
mean,
enough.
you start the movie up, it says Marvel, so it's
Yeah,
like, but it was one of those things that where, hey, we should watch this Marvel movie, and then your whatever adult whatever we're like, we don't want to watch a Marvel movie. Yeah, but the very first scene is they in a rave club where it's spraying blood and a bunch of people get chopped into a million pieces. Okay, that Marvel movie I'd watch.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna admit it's not. I didn't see Blade when it came out. I other than his one appearance in the '90s Spider-Man, like I didn't know
So good.
Blade. Um,
Michael Morbius sucked plasma because they couldn't
yeah,
get him to say he sucked blood.
yeah,
And they put the suckers on his hands because they couldn't have him bite people.
yeah. So I didn't watch Blade until way after the fact. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, it was fine. It's not a movie that normally I gravitate towards. Like, I'm not the biggest horror, sub horror type of guy,
Mm-hmm.
but I can get into it. And I was into it when I watched it, but it's not like, oh my God, Blade. You know,
I don't remember
that isn't to
exactly.
say that I don't understand why people feel that way, but it just kind of,
I
you
don't
know,
remember the exact rule set for this podcast, but you're okay if I swear, right?
oh yeah, absolutely.
One of my favorite quotes in any
We're
movie.
not making money off of this. We're good.
I know, but one of my favorite quotes in any movie ever is from that Blade movie. Well, I can't remember what the character does, but he said, "Some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill." It's one of my favorite lines in a movie ever. Or when he's in like a back in a freezer and he's going after someone and these two cops shoot at him and they hit his bulletproof armor and he just looks at him and he goes, "Are you out of your goddamn mind?" They just walk away. Wesley Snipes, when he cared in his Blade movies, was great.
I think the only other thing, and this was before I ever saw the movie, but there was we watched watched a movie or saw like a commercial for that one or the second one. I can't remember. And there was like the trailer moments of him Blade saying, "You have no idea who you're messing with." And my buddy JC was with me. He's like, "That's not the line. The line is, you have no idea who you're fucking with." But it
Yes,
was
exactly.
television,
Oh,
so
100%. My favorite thing is one of my favorite things is the creative censorship for TV.
I. All right, so hopefully the technical problems have been alleviated.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Um, so with Blade, it was a fine film. I don't. It's hard for me to talk about because I don't have strong opinions on it. Other than just like it was a decent film. You know, it made Blade more popular, which was really cool. So we kind of even before the MCU started, kind of the I don't want to say B tier because I feel like that's kind of disrespectful to the character, but kind of your less mainstream character. One of them at least kind of got brought up, which is also pretty cool. Um, but it was just kind of, they were just films to me, you know. I didn't see them in theaters. I watched them way after the fact. Oh,
Yeah.
but then we go to something that a lot of people knew about because of cartoons after that, and that was in the year 2000, X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And um now this one, like, I kind of was more pumped up about because it was X-Men,
Yeah.
you know. Um Grew up with it, 1997, you know, and then we're finally going to see it in movie form. Um I know out of the gates, 11-year-old me was disappointed that they didn't have a lot of my favorite characters in right away.
Mm-hmm.
So there was kind of that, oh, and I remember not wanting, saying, like, I'll wait till it comes out on video because Beast wasn't in it, um, Gambit wasn't in it, Nightcrawler wasn't in, the first one, which
Mm-hmm.
creatively I understand. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. They're wanting to make a series of these movies,
Mm-hmm.
so okay, but just 10, 11-year-old me is going, Beast, don't go now, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but still, I mean, for all the credit that Spider-Man rightfully gets about really bringing superhero movies back, this was a good movie, a great movie even.
It was.
And I think this was, and for all the credit that uh, the Dark Knight trilogy get about, here's superhero movies that aren't, that can be seen as much deeper than just, you know, heroes in tights fighting bad guys. You got that in X-Men too, and just the amount of, right out the gate, the main protagonist and main antagonist are two of the greatest actors that have ever lived, with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. They nailed that right off the
oh
bat.
yeah, like they really they showed that superhero comic books can be more than just, and we're gonna go stop evil, and then also showed that, yes, in the past you want to get the big Hollywood blockbuster names in it, and that was maybe a detriment, when you look at Batman Robin, where it's like, but we got George Clooney, but we got Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, these two huge names at the time. Um, but they got, like, legitimately fantastic actors. Yes, Patrick Stewart was probably more well known for still being in the nerd sphere,
Mm-hmm.
because of Star Trek. But um, he's a Shakespearean trained actor.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Ian McKellen. That's kind of the, and I feel like both of them really went a long way in legitimizing just being in those sort of movies, because Shakespearean trained actors, but, like, you ask Patrick Stewart, he loves Star Trek. He loves Professor X. Like, he may not want to just talk about that because of all the things he's done, but he loves the fact that he was in those movies and part of that legacy. And the same thing with Ian McKellen. He loves the fact that he was Magneto. He loves the fact that he was Gandalf. You know, he's he embraces that, along with all the other things that he's done in his career.
Yeah. they gave him two of the best roles for them to use their skills on.
Oh yeah. But what did you think about X-Men? What did you think about when this movie was announced?
I liked it. I didn't know much about the X-Men outside of the cartoon because I wasn't reading comics that early on in my life. I would have been 5.5, 6 when that first came out.
The cartoon or the movie?
The cartoon.
Okay.
So I was born 7 days into '91. So, no, the movie, liked it. Music and everything was great. Hated that they all just. I didn't say they exactly needed to be cartoony, but I was kind of like, their costumes suck. And
they kind of talk, and they kind of make a joke about that.
Oh, they do, absolutely. And what were you expecting? Yellow spandex, and I love how they brought that back in X-Men '97. It's like, what were you expecting? Black leather? But and I was like, why do the villains get to look cool, and the heroes don't? But I was like, it's okay, it's whatever.
I didn't hate the costumes. Not to cut you off, but
no.
I didn't hate the costumes, but I did kind of think maybe a little more,
like even striping.
Yeah, but I also get the fact that it's like, okay, this is at the time I'm going, it's the 21st century, and this is how they do things on movies. So it's not going to. You're not going to get the big mask Wolverine. You're not going to get freaking, what do you call that? The big thing, pouchy, big visor Cyclops. You're not going to get all white Storm costume.
I didn't even need that. Like, I'm just like, they're all wearing the exact same thing with no differentiation. Like, why are they only one color, one exact design for every single person?
Well, I can kind of justify that. When you're in the military or you're on a police force,
I get
how much
that.
differentiation in like maybe down the road, like if this is the first movie and then down the road it's like, okay, and then we all kind of do our own thing.
Do you know how they differentiate that in the Army? At least they give them different badges. They didn't even have that.
Fair enough.
Not even that. They had legitimately no differencing. I'm not asking for exact drawn out of the 90s. I'm like, for the love of God, maybe make his visor yellow. Like, for the love of God, maybe have Storm have white piping on her suit versus the same as everyone else. You could have color-coded the piping of the leather at least. That's all I wanted.
In the first movie, I can be okay with it because it's kind of like the X-Men are still kind of in their infancy. Like, in their universe,
They are, but it was enough to make the suits tailored to that person. They didn't find random suits that they went, oh, I hope this fits because this was meant for a group of people. Nope, we made this for you. It fits. It's just for you. Enjoy it.
There was a deleted scene where they explain why Wolverine's is the same. Like it's Cyclops is talking to Logan and he's, clearly they're not fans of one another.
Mm-hmm.
That just goes without saying. And there's kind of like, like now when we get out there in the field, just so you know, like we have a hierarchy and, I just want to know how you're going to be with taking orders. It's kind of like orders. Oh, let me take orders. Give me one right now. Put this on. He's like, you gotta be like, like whose is it? One of mine. So they actually say Wolverine just got one of Cyclops' old uniforms, but they cut it out.
Yeah, of course. But besides that, this is one of the movies that has one of the lines that I think is unbelievably overhated because I think it's just on the point and stupid in matches for that time period. Is the what happens to a toe when it's struck by lightning is one of the most overhated lines in movie history, in my opinion.
I don't understand why everybody. It's just a line, like it's not like I'm not gonna act like it's like, oh man, that is peak writing right there, but I'm not gonna act like, okay, that wasn't anything.
It's not peak writing, it's a comic book quip. Do you know what would have happened if Spider-Man would have said that? It would have been accepted, but because it was said by Storm, it. But yeah, the everyone that they got to be in these parts was great,
including finding an unknown Broadway dancer to be the epitome of badass. You know?
Oh, absolutely. All of it, like they even had Tyler Bane, who was a nobody, to be. Pretty sure he used to be a wrestler before he was in
Yeah, he
that
was a
movie.
wrestler. Big
Yeah,
Sky.
yeah. Having him be Sabretooth was really good. All the music was fantastic. The fight scenes were awesome. It just was really good.
You know, you had Rebecca Romaine as Mystique, who was really great in that role. Ray Park, you know, coming off of playing Darth Maul as Toad.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And they made him properly disgusting.
yes. Um, you know, you had Halle Berry, who was getting some hype, but she wasn't the star she would become. You know, she played Dorothy Dandridge in a movie and did an excellent job. But beyond that, like Halle Berry wasn't, you know, she wasn't known for being like the, you know, epitome of beauty and great acting that, you know, she would become. And that role helped her. I still to this day uh, don't really know much else about Famke Janssen. Like I know
Uh,
she's
James
been in a
Bond.
lot of stuff, but
She was
I didn't.
Xenia Onatopp in James Bond. That's one of her biggest roles.
Okay, um, I for the longest time didn't even know how to say her first name.
Mm-hmm.
And then James Marsden, you know, kind of been in several action movies,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
the the leads were the leads for a reason, and they played, you know, maybe not in terms of action, but in terms of like what they mean to the story, the most important characters.
Oh,
So,
100%. Absolutely.
um, you know, Anna Paquin,
That was my one genuine gripe with that movie.
really.
I didn't mind it, but I'm like, if I want to see. Anna Paquin's not a bad actress. But I go from. This is not even whatever we say what they didn't like costuming. You go from every single version of her being, and I get this is their infancy, whatever. She didn't get to meet Carol Danvers, if that's going to be your excuse for why she didn't have everything else. But you go from the most base form of Rogue that everyone knows to scared teenage girl that is borderline useless. Who does not even have a southern accent either. Few people bitch about that, but they'll get at Halle Berry about her accent. And then you get her, which the role of what she played was fine. I just feel you could have done that role with a much different character.
I feel like when they were doing this, they wanted clearly she was, even though Jubilee was a cameo in that movie,
Yes.
they wanted her to have the Jubilee role of like, you know, hey, here's big mean loner, I hate everyone, badass Wolverine opens his heart to, you know, a teenage girl, and that, you know, that becomes his, you know, surrogate niece, you know, like they do Jubilee in the comics and in the
Mm-hmm.
97 cartoon. That's what they were going for, and I feel like from a studio's perspective, they're like, do we want to go with Fireworks Jubilee? And I'm not bashing Jubilee, you know, she would go on to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, become better and cooler in her own right. But like, do we want the person that can just go like boo, 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 with the fireworks, or do we want somebody that has like a real struggle where we can really go over like, yeah, being a mutant has these bad things. She can't even touch someone.
I, I
So I
get.
feel like they kind of wanted have their cake and eat it too, going, we have that dynamic, but we have someone that we can use in our pot a lot better than Jubilee.
I get
That
that.
all
But
being said, you could have wrote a little bit better to achieve that goal.
that's the thing. What bothers me with that logic is fine. But what you're basically doing is going, cool, we like the character of Rogue, but we're going to strip away everything that makes her awesome and make her only a character that has struggles.
Yeah.
You took away 99% of the character and kept the one part that was like, see? When we could have done that with anyone. For Christ's sake, you could have partially made that work with Leech. If you really wanted to, where he can't be by anyone because he's always a detriment and he needs to be a loner because he screws up everyone's powers and blah, 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 but then ended up using him later on in 3, or that was basically supposed to be Leech. But I'm like, like you could have even somehow done that with Shadowcat for a degree, but you had her on later to be the reason why she wanted to give her powers up. It's just like, man, of all the people, that's like, hey, we're gonna take away Colossus's power, but we're gonna make him always be metallic because that's a struggle because he can't have natural human touch on his skin, and we're gonna make him a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Like I said, I didn't love it. I didn't even like it, and then especially Gambit wasn't in there, and then they're making her have a love interest in Bobby Drake, which now is really freaking awkward, seeing as how they retconned and said he was gay all along. Which, not that I'm against the fact that they.
No, that's fine. Whatever.
Making a making sure that a very popular character is homosexual, but it's kind of like 50 years later, you're like, oh yeah, and by the way, it's all gay.
If it's one of those things where the sexuality of the character never really mattered, and they like want to write a story where, hey, for his first relationship, it's whatever, it's fine. In my opinion, for the most part, that's really fine. If there's
he was canonically heterosexual for 50 years.
I know. It's the same.
It'd been one thing if like hey, we've never actually like established any sort of romantic interest with Bobby ever. Hey, why couldn't Bobby be gay? That would have been fine, but like he'd always kind of just kind of.
I know.
It's going to get me some hate because it's going to get taken out of context, but you just could have done that better. Yeah. Could have done that. You could have picked someone else that I feel like they saw the joke on Family Guy and said, we got to make Iceman gay now.
I didn't even know they did that.
Oh, it was like a joke of like Iceman's like with his wife, and she's like, so where'd you go last night? And he was like, oh yeah, I went to, Mike's house. We played some cards. It's like, really? How do you explain that? And it showed like the big beam of ice going down to like a club that said all gay XXXX, and then he goes like, at least they know how to touch a man.
That's funny. I didn't know they did that.
So like when I first saw that, the first thing I thought was, are you using this from Family Guy? Is the reason?
That's funny.
Yeah. But now it just becomes awkward because they were telling us like, oh, because now they're trying to say like, oh, he was gay all along, and then they used him as Rogue's love interest in the movie. It's like, ooh, yeah, awkward.
Yeah. It becomes more awkward when you think about the person who was in the love triangle is now Elliot Page.
Yeah.
So all around, it was just weird if you look back at the context, but it's fine.
Yeah. And Elliot Page is doing what makes him happy, and I'm not,
absolutely.
I'm fully in support of that.
Mm-hmm.
It just it just before that, I just really liked the way Kitty was portrayed in the movies.
Yep.
But that shouldn't hold Elliot back from doing
No.
what he wants
No.
to do.
Elliot's doing
So,
great. Elliot's doing great.
um, the big line that I think everybody, me not everybody, but me, my favorite line is when they're at the very end. You know, Mystique has been in disguise so many times, and Wolverine goes like, "Hey guys, it's just me." And Cyclops, "All right, prove it.
You're a dick.
You're a dick."
All
Okay.
right, Tim. Okay, Tim.
That is so perfect.
It was perfect. Yeah, it was really good. Honestly, one of the things I remember most from that movie is not in the actual movie, it's in the bloopers. When that guy runs onto set in the Spider-Man costume, he's like, whoa, 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 I'm in the wrong universe. I'm sorry, I'm backing up. We're getting out of here. Have you not seen
I
that
never saw
blooper?
that. I've never seen that.
There's a blooper where they're running into the middle part of the Empire of the Statue of Liberty, and I want to say it's Wolverine and Jean Grey. They go running in and they have a scene, and then all of a sudden this guy comes from running around the door in a dollar store Spider-Man costume and goes, "Whoa, I'm in the wrong movie. I'm so sorry. I mean, my bad." And he just walks away. It's really funny. It was awesome. Even as a kid, I'm like, what is Spider-Man doing here? That's not Tobey Maguire.
The only, and this is, well, I guess we can just talk about all the X-Men movies real quick here. The only thing I didn't like was because of the pacing of the movies. I feel like you did away with a lot of things. Because the first and second were really good, and then it tapered off with the third. You could have gone in a lot of different directions. Like the first thing, they establish, and this is something I liked, is, Senator Kelly being against mutants. And, like any other person in Washington, drumming up all the fear. Albeit in his case, unlike our current administration, it's a fear of the unknown and not so much just straight up bigotry from Senator Kelly. At least that's the vibe I got.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish that they would have maybe not killed him right away.
Mm-hmm.
Because you kind of cut the legs off of the really good part of the anti-mutant, like within the first act of the movie. And I get, that's like the idea of what Magneto was trying to do. Like, I'm going to turn I have a machine that's going to turn everybody into mutants, so then you can't hate us anymore. I'm going to transfer my powers to Rogue because because even Magneto still at his core is a little bit of a narcissist where it's like, I can't die. I must rule.
Exactly.
Or I must lead this, so. But like when they did it to Senator Kelly and then he died right away, I kind of felt like that cut the legs off of a good part of the story and something that was always a driving force within X-Men, which is Senator Kelly being we can't do this, we can't, And then they reveal that like Henry Gyrick was dead for years, and it's like, okay, well, there goes something else. Like that was a piece that could have been used later, that they're just like, all right, Senator Kelly's just a plot device, let's just get him done.
Well, that's one of the things that it goes back to the same writing idea of how they did with Rogue. It was a plot device.
Yeah.
We needed to have blank character, and that's a big thing about how comic book movies used to be written, where it was just like, that character does this, put him in blank. Then it used to be we wrote a movie, and then now it's, oh, we have characters come up with comic book lines around them, and now it's a little bit better version of what this kind of was, where now they're like, okay, this is our plot we want to have. What characters can we use that naturally fit into these versus kind of ramrodding them into it? And would actually work better, and not just, we need a guy who can be in government. That's a senator. Use that guy.
Yeah. Like because you could have gone and again, I don't want to be, the you borrow the wrestling like I won't, and here's how I would book it because I can do it better. But like I kind of look back and think if you could have kept Senator Kelly, like a good way they could if they could have kept Senator Kelly around, and then he sees the X-Men, and he's like, okay, maybe like behind closed doors, be like, okay, there's good and bad people with this group. I shouldn't paint with such a broad brush. I'm not going to completely change, but I'm going to see that, like, okay, we got to think about how we handle this a little bit better. And then, like, by movie 2, Magneto kills him, or Mystique kills him. And then, like, despite him having some personal growth on the matter, the public is like, they just killed him. Mm-hmm. And then you could go into 3, when they, and like, okay, here, kaboom has happened, and Sentinels, and, this, that, and the other, and holy shit, we're at the big climax of everything. That would have worked better than just, and we kill him. Okay? And then we're going into 2. And then in 3, it's just kind of like, and the movie just full of fan service. Oh, you like Beast? He's here now. And Kelsey Grammer was the perfect choice for Beast. But hey, you remember how, when you were getting ready to enter 6th grade, you were sad Beast isn't here? Well, look who's here for the last movie. And then that's just all it was. So, I don't know, like it was, and I do kind of understand at that time, while they were, comic movies were rising up, it wasn't the complete cash cow to where like, we're going to have, like, where Marvel become like, don't worry, we're going to have 4 more movies. So we can slow down, we can take our time, we can do these things because we're going to have another movie. This ain't getting concluded for 11 years, so we're fine. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe at that time there was still like, we got 3, and we got to get it all in. And that 3 is a very, like, they can revoke that 3 at any time because we don't know. So I can get that. But at the same time, it's like, this is good. It could have been great. And then this is before the MCU came out. But eventually, I think they just basically, they had Days of Future Past just to go, we're sorry. We're sorry X-Men 3 was so bad. Sorry. Freaking the BP guy on, like that's, I just imagine, Bryan Singer just doing the BP guy from South Park. Sorry.
Oh God. Yeah, it is part of that. Like, I'm one of those people that doesn't hate X3 as much as most people do. This is what I'm going to go into for a lot of comic book movies now. If a comic book movie is never just okay, if it has one bad scene in it and one person says it's bad, then it is the most god-awful, shit-ridden thing you've ever seen in your entire life. It should be thrown into a cannon, lit on fire, and piled with dead babies. Like, there's never it was okay. It was the worst fucking thing humanly possible. Is X3 perfect? No. Is it a Shakespearean masterpiece? No. But I, personally, don't think it's as bad as what everyone says it is. Because I will have conversations with people where they're just like, "Oh, it was so bad." Can you tell me some scenes you hated about it? Well, no. Can you tell me some scenes you liked about it? Oh yeah, there was one or two. Okay, so maybe it was just an okay movie and you didn't think it was the greatest thing ever? No, it was god awful. If it was so god awful, you would remember a bunch of scenes that made you so unbelievably pissed that you thought it was the worst thing that ever happened.
I'm
But
with you.
but
That is a trope of the fandom, but I'm also going to say, and I don't agree with it because, like, when we talked about the whole DCEU, like, there were movies that were just okay, but they were just shit on because DC or
yeah,
whatever.
absolutely, 100%.
But I'll also say this, at least in terms of X-Men 3, it kind of goes back to my, comparison, when a good when a good sports team is fixing to, like, has the hype, and it's like, okay, with this can make their run, they're going to make their run to the Super Bowl, or they're going to make their run to the World Series or the Stanley Cup, because they've been building, they've been getting better, and now they're going to now they have all these pieces, so they should be there. Anything less than winning that or having that type of season was bad. The Buffalo Bills this year, okay, they've added some people in free agency. They're the hot, this is going to be the Buffalo Bills time. This is going to be the Buffalo Bills time, that they don't. This is going to be their time to make the Super Bowl. And then they got eliminated in the second round of the playoffs again. By making the playoffs and making it to the second round, they're in the upper tier of every football team in the NFL. They're better than most. But this was supposed to be their year they went to the Super Bowl. So therefore, a lot of people are going to look at the Buffalo Bills and go, that sucked. This was the year you were supposed to win the Super Bowl, and you didn't even make the damn game. You didn't even make the game to try and get into the game. So you sucked this year. That's kind of the X-Men 3 thing, is like, okay, this is here. We've got Beast, we've got Juggernaut, we've got Sentinels, we've got the Danger Room. We're going to have, all of these things are finally here. Everything that you said this movie needs, got it. Everything, got it. Oh, we need help here? Got it. And then it's like, it went there and it was okay? Like, it was at best an okay movie? That ain't going to fly with certain people.
It's not going to fly with certain people, but it's not just certain people.
90%
of the population thinks it's bad. That's the difference.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not just certain people.
True.
But
the certain people it flies with, or that it doesn't fly with, are the people that put the opinions out there.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills not making the Super Bowl didn't fly with analysts on ESPN. People watch NFL Live on ESPN, and then they hear those analysts go, what an epic failure from the Buffalo Bills. So now most people are going to be influenced to go, Buffalo Bills suck. They failed to make the Super Bowl with all this hype and all these new players and all these key positions filled. Oh, well, you suck then. And that's kind of where they're coming from, not realizing it's like, they were a really good team that got beat by a better team in the playoffs. That's sports. This was a movie that tried to do too much and probably had some hindrance from the studio, and we got what we got. Yeah. Was it a terrible movie? Objectively speaking, no. But it, much like one we're going to get into shortly, it was supposed to be raising the Lombardi, and instead it was just a playoff team. And that's going to rub folks the wrong way. You know, you can still say, hey, but that's, you're not wrong when you go, they still made the playoffs. They're good. It still did this. It was fine. Did you want Batman and Robin? Did you want, like it wasn't that.
Like
Did you
it's
want
that my main problem with it in this and just things in general is that you cannot describe something unless you use hyperbole
yeah.
at whatsoever. And I will hear people be like, "This is the worst comic book movie that has ever been made. It's ridiculous." I'm like, "You have not seen Steel or Catwoman.
Yeah.
You think they're worse than Steel or Catwoman? Oh, no. Describe something with your own thoughts and not regurgitated YouTube reviews for once in your life, and you will be a
Yeah.
better human being." Good God.
But yeah, when you use something like that, it is the worst. But it is kind of one of those things where it's like, the Buffalo Bills don't suck. No, you know who sucks? Fucking the Cleveland Browns. They suck. The Carolina Panthers, they suck. But on the flip side, the Cleveland Browns have no hype around them, so therefore there is no expectations, so therefore you're not hurt when the Cleveland Browns suck. You're hurt when the Buffalo Bills suck.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And that was X3.
Yeah, I'll always say you're allowed to hate something, just hate honestly. That is my favorite saying, hate honestly.
So now we come to the last bits. I don't really want to talk about the Hulk movie from that period, and we kind of talked about Daredevil a little bit in our DCEU, so we're just going to go into Spider-Man just for the sake of time.
Yep.
Because I really didn't expect to talk about X1 as long as we did. But that also tells you, why it was good. There is a lot to talk about with it.
There is.
Spider-Man. Now, full disclosure, I wanted to do this movie. I want to do this episode because we did our Wrestlers and Movies episode, and I forgot a big one. So by doing this, I get to give this individual his flowers. Macho Man Randy Savage was great as Bonesaw McGraw. He was amazing, did that role perfectly. I know it was just a minute part of the movie, but
that's fantastic.
Ziggy, that's enough. Yeah, she likes Macho Man too, and she's mad at me that I forgot it. But I forgot to mention Macho Man's Bonesaw. That was really good. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Randy.
No, it was good.
But I remember this was the first time where I actually saw on the internet, we're making this movie. And seeing here, you're making a movie. Here is a picture.
Yes.
Here is a, 28K Windows Media Player trailer of it you can download. Or not even download, watch on the website. And that's about this big of the Spider-Man movie. Or of a part of a Spider-Man movie. I'm like, this was the first movie for me where I'm like, oh my God, they're making this. This is happening. This is real. And I was beyond pumped. Because it's Spider-Man. Was Spider-Man was he my all-time favorite superhero? No, but he was one where I'm like, I watched all the episodes of this. I dressed up as him. Spider-Man is coming, Yes.
Oh yeah. It was good. It was one of the first It was very good, but I do love that back when I was younger, it was one of the very first movies where I caught the age difference in what a character's supposed to be versus a person.
Yes. How old was Tobey Maguire? 28?
What? Yeah, I was like, he's supposed to be 17.
And Kirsten Dunst?
What? Kirsten, for the natural bit of it, looked a little bit younger than Tobey did.
Looked a little bit younger, but she was...
Still...
She was closer to the age she was she was supposed to be
Yeah.
playing in Spider-Man. When
Yes.
she was in Jumanji, she was closer to
Exactly.
that age.
Yes, exactly. That's just
And
that was one of
Jumanji was like
90 something. I don't
yeah,
freaking remember.
I said like I was in 7th grade when that movie came out. I think Jumanji came out when I was in 1st.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but yeah, no, the suit looks great. The only thing I ever have trouble with is sometimes the eyes in certain shots look a little off, and depending on the lighting, the raised webbing. But like the overall design of it was fantastic.
I did not like how he naturally shot the webbing.
Yeah,
That was
I
like,
didn't either.
and I even pointed that like
Didn't
thought
either.
that this was before I was super cynical about stuff. Because I'm like, it's supposed to be cartridges. Not until he gets the symbiote suit is it real. I get
Yeah.
they wanted like kind of the whole like, oh my god, oh it's awkward. He got web and he's stuck to things because he's Peter and he's a loser.
Yeah, you
You
still could
know,
have done
scene
that
in
with
the
this. You still could have done that because Peter wears his cartridges all the time. So you still could have had to be like, "Oh shit, I accidentally set it off because I'm a moron."
yeah, and then you wanted the goofy up and fire web. Fly
That part
up
was
and
funny.
away
I'll
web.
openly admit that scene's hilarious.
It is hilarious, but like I feel like it was put. I feel like they did it that way just to either to have the scene in the lunchroom where like Peter's a loser, and then that funny scene.
Yeah,
But
one
whatever,
of
it's fine.
one of the things with that and why people are like, "Oh, you don't like it because it's different." I'm like, "No, because it takes away a genuine part of who Peter is. He invents the web shooters because he's smart."
Yep.
And if you want to know, hey, pop quiz, do you know how they retconned it for him to have organic web shooters in the comics for a little bit after that?
I know the symbiote.
It wasn't in the symbiote. Like him naturally having. I'll do this quick. So they had this big event where this woman, this like would-be spider goddess, I forget her name, was like coming after Peter specifically because this big war event was happening, and she needed to have Peter for this thing, and it goes through this big, drastic chain of stupidly, overly complicated events to where she gets into this like sun dome where she alien mouth rapes Peter. I'm not joking. And then he goes into this sun dome and he turns into like doppelganger pretty much, but on steroids, where he turns into a giant spider and then gives birth to himself, and then he has organic web shooters. I skipped 9,000% of that story, but that is the Sparks notes.
Is it a good story with the other
No,
things?
it's
The other
not
things make it
good.
good? Okay,
It's not
okay,
good.
good.
It's not
I need to
good.
know.
And they got rid of it so fast after that. Oh, it was so terrible.
Because I know comic book wise, poor Spider-Man is like the victim of a lot of. We're gonna do this now. Yeah, well, I mean, like they just like writing wise, like we're gonna do this, and now we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna retcon this, but this is still saying la 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 la.
Yeah.
You know, and it's gotten to the point like they've done it so much that, like I don't even want to read Spider-Man comics anymore because it's like, oh, you've not trying to be one of those guys, but like the comic books have kind of ruined Peter. Because just all the stuff like, oh no, okay, that didn't happen now.
Do you know what?
No, he was never in love with Mary. He's in love with Mary Jane. He's never in love with Mary Jane. Oh, he's in love with Mary Jane again. Oh, they were never married. Oh, this happened. Oh, this happened. Oh, Doc Ock controls Peter now. Oh, da 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 da.
That's literally based on him being in his punching bag. They're allergic to letting him be happy. They've said that. They said it's not realistic for him to be happy. That's why they never let him be with Mary Jane for extended periods of time, because it's not realistic. There's actual Marvel editors saying that on page, documented. It's not realistic him being happy.
And probably one of my favorite Marvel books with Spider-Man is Marvel Knights, where like, yes, there's plenty of Parker luck in that, but he's just with Mary Jane, you guys. It's like you could still have him be with Mary Jane
and be miserable because he's a hero and his life sucks being a hero sometimes.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things that they did in Deadpool and Wolverine, do you know when he's fighting was going to be future Deathstroke, that scene where they fight by the lockers in the hallway, that they copy that exact same choreography for the beginning of the fight once they actually get into hand-to-hand combat with Wolverine and Deadpool?
No, I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
after they finally get at each other and they're fighting, there's a series of dodges and weaves and punches that are the exact to a degree perfect cut copy of when he's fighting Flash Thompson in the hallway. It's ridiculous.
Joe Manganiello playing Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
That worked.
He was their Flash Thompson. He was absolutely perfect for that.
Yeah,
And he would have been fucking perfect for Deathstroke if they would have ever made that movie that they were going to make. He still could be.
Yeah, he still could be.
One of my favorite things Joel Manganiello ever did is, MGF, obviously. I can't remember who he was in a feud with, but he took this big giant Jack picture in the
oh yeah. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I do.
Joel Manganiello looked at all things on the cover of GQ magazine. I do.
Speaking of wrestling and Joe Manganiello, this isn't a favorite moment, but it's something that makes me laugh. Is they did a segment on Raw with Hulk Hogan and Joe Manganiello, and then like Hulk Hogan is like, yo, well, brother, dude, Jack, Daddy, I'm here with my main brother Joe Manganiello.
Oh, good lord!
And it's like
that's not how you say Hulk.
That's not how you say it, and I clearly he's not your main brother then. If
no, he's not. But
the first movie,
yeah.
I mean, it was special, so I don't want to like completely let cynical comic book internet guy come out in me and totally trash it, because it was great. It was special. Yeah. It was a lot of things. There was just so much more they could have done. And I feel like, first of all, Willem Dafoe's The Green Goblin was perfect. Like that, they nailed that.
100%.
The only thing, like, there was just more there. And I get probably some of it had to be cut, and I get it. But I just feel like they could have done so much more.
I have a feeling because of how expensive that movie probably was to make, that's the reason why it didn't, because you don't know if that's going to make your money back.
Yeah. Like even one of the big scenes that everybody hates, I even have to cite a YouTuber that I do not particularly care for, that he had, he had a good justification by it, but like the scene where, all the New Yorkers are helping him, and they're all like, yo, you mess with one of him, you messing with all of us, and everybody's all like, oh, that's so lame.
That's how
the nostalgia critic. The nostalgia critic, who I don't care for, but I saw that video once. He's like, guys, this was after 9/11. There was a lot of New York pride going on. People really, for that period of time, they really were kind of all together after a big traumatic event. Let it go.
Yeah, and honestly, there's runs of comics that I've read myself. I don't know if it's all the time, but there is runs of comics where, outside of J. Jonah Jameson, New York loves Spider-Man. And if you screw with him and they can help, they will.
It was a little... Again, Lucifer's telling me it's cold down there because I'm agreeing and saying the nostalgia critic made a good point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in Spider-Man 2, they do it way more earnestly, and I like that one so much better.
Yeah.
But I do agree with him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In 2002, a mere months after 9/11, that worked.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody... Before the world completely sucked, we could have something like that happen and actually most of us be together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
100%.
Hats off.
Yeah. And it was just fantastic. The same with the second one. It was very good, in my opinion. No, I'm blanking on it.
Second one was the best one.
Yeah, I'm
Second one's the
blanking on it.
best one in my opinion.
I'm blanking on his damn name. Guy that plays Doc.
Uh, get on the
Oh,
phone real quick.
I feel so bad. I know this guy's name.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's a fantastic actor, but either way, him as Ock in that movie was fantastic. My Precious
Alfred
Tritium,
Molina.
Alfred Molina. Thank you. Still has one of my favorite jokes in a movie. So, anyone who might have lost a giant stack of, it was either 20s or $100 bills in the parking lot, wrapped in a rubber band. We found the rubber band. Just little random moments like that are awesome.
The ultimate Peter of the punching bag was like at that dinner party scene where he could not get, he's already starving and he could not get an hors d'oeuvre or a drink to save his life.
No.
Like, oh, it's all gone. And then finally he gets the cup and you're thinking like, all right, at least Peter can get him a nice beverage. Empty.
Empty. Yep.
At least he can get him a little booze in him to numb the pain. Empty.
Yes. Yeah, it was the whole. Was it 2 the one that got the Nickelback and Saliva track in it?
No, that was the first one.
That was the first one. Okay, I always thought that was the second one for some reason.
That song actually ruined the relationship between the two bands.
Really?
Yeah, like they are not friends and hate each other now because of like something to do with that song, or I don't know the full details, but I do remember like that song from Spider-Man is what caused that.
I do know that nobody remembers that Saliva's lead singer's in it.
Yeah,
because they always
just
that
remember
Nickelback song.
Yeah, I think that was the first one because I remember when that came out, I was like, I didn't hate Nickelback like I did, or like would go on to start hating them. I was young and still this day I like their first album, so I'm like, oh, okay, their first album good. Oh, there's the Nickelback guys. So I might be wrong. But I think that was the first movie.
It could be. For some reason,
I could be wrong. Yeah, I could be wrong, and because freaking 02 to 04, a lot of life was happening in between there. A lot of growing up was happening. So.
Oh yeah, but yeah, all the Harry Osborn stuff was really great. The somewhat tension between him and Mary Jane was great. It was just it was well put together, and the cinematography and how all that stuff was shot, like the scene of him falling under that warehouse on the dock with the like sun engine or whatever that thing was called, was just shot so beautifully as it's going through. The editing and how they made the claws look were so good. Even the game is fantastic.
Oh yeah, with Bruce Campbell being your narrator.
That was one thing, though, that was supposed the big rumor. That was
and Bruce Campbell making a cameo in every movie.
That was
and Uncle Ben's car being the same car from Evil Dead. That is just perfect.
The big rumor going around that eventually he was going to be Mysterio. That was the rumor when I was younger, and he would have been perfect to be Mysterio. He still.
I heard that, and I heard he was eventually going to be the Watcher.
Or it could be. It's just the rumor I heard with the Mysterio one was that he was acting in different roles to get life experience of what people who weren't actors were. So that's why you see him in all the different whatevers throughout all the movies.
Overall, the original Spider-Man trilogy, that is the pacing. That's the one thing I think it had over X-Men. Like, it was paced perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
Introduction. Okay, second choice, like, oh, I don't like what I'm doing. And then you get to Venom, which was to most Spider-Man fans the mecca, of what you lead to with Spider-Man is Venom. The way they paced what each movie was going to cover was perfect and more, in my opinion, more well done than the X-Men ones.
Mm-hmm. Pacing-wise, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I am going to be along with most people on the internet and go, Spider-Man 3 wasn't all right. Here's your chance to Yeah, that's not the Buffalo Bills. Here's your chance to win the Super Bowl, but you still made the playoffs. That was fucking.
It's a mess.
Here's your chance to win the Super Bowl, and you
It was this
fucking
past year with the
went
Peck, though.
three.
This
What's
past
that?
year with it's this past year's Super Bowl with the Patriots.
I was gonna say that it was the Chiefs.
Or the
You know,
Chiefs,
like, okay,
yeah.
you made the Super Bowl, or you went to the Super Bowl last year. Like, you could very easily go back and you didn't even have a winning record.
No.
Oh dear, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This wasn't even. You weren't even in the fucking conversation.
Like, I will give this movie its credit. The black suit on Peter looked phenomenal.
It was cool.
Like, even the Venom look on Topher Grace, which, my god, we wanted a big, intimidating figure. How about Eric Foreman?
Yeah, that was bad. They wanted. I guess they wanted somebody to be meek, and you know, that's the thing is Eddie Brock is a meathead.
Uh-huh.
You know, like, yes, he gets shit on a lot, you know, but at the end of the day, he's a meathead.
Yeah.
And him being kind of a douchebag jock meathead is supposed to eliminate the sympathy. There's not supposed to be sympathy for Eddie Brock being a douche.
Not.
You know, you're not supposed to feel bad for him that J. Jonah Jameson thinks he's a pox on humanity because he's a douchebag. He's a big, muscled up, bully, meathead dummy.
Yes. Now, he does get stuff later on, but his start, you're not supposed to feel bad for him.
Yeah, he has his redemption arc where, you know, he becomes, him and Venom together become good people and champions of the innocent. And yes.
But no, he's
a
bad person at first.
Yeah, he's a bad, he is the worst person, and J. Jonah Jameson's hatred of him is his karma.
Yeah.
Clearly, I don't know who it was, said, like, we're supposed to feel bad for him. No, you are not supposed to feel bad for Eddie Brock. So no, we should not be having Topher Grace in this. No, this was bad. This is a bad idea, and you should feel bad.
Yeah. Before we get away from it, J. Jonah Jameson, crap. J.K. Simmons is one of, if not the most accurate casting in all of comic books.
Oh, yeah.
That in Spider-Man 3, I believe it's in Spider-Man 3, when he's attempting to get his pills off the desk.
The first movie when you meet J. Jonah Jameson, he is like, all of that is so perfect. You know, like Jonah, your wife on line 1. Excuse me. He's like picks up the phone, hangs right up on her. Yep. You know, like what do you want to get pictures of the Spider-Man? All them side. Spider-Man page 1 tomorrow.
They do keep one thing they appreciate though is they had a moment in this movie which kind of sucked that they haven't had Jonah yet in the Andrew Garfield movies, and they barely had him in the other ones because they didn't have interactions with Peter. I love how they in most cartoons they'll always have a moment where J. Jonah Jameson isn't purely an asshole, because there'll always be a moment where a villain is getting ready to kill him, and they're like, we can use Peter to get at Spider-Man, and they're like, who's the guy who takes his photos? I don't know, they get mailed in, when he obviously gets them handed to him by Peter Parker. So he's like, no, he's got a good person in him, he just hates Spider-Man.
He just hates Spider-Man, but like, yeah, he, you know, like, but yeah, like, you know, they're delivered by mail, I don't, you know.
It's so good.
And that is the good thing about Jay. Like, and they even show this in the cartoon. For whatever reason, he just hates Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And to a ridiculous degree, but at the end of the day, he likes Peter, and he wants to do good in the world. You know, they do that one episode where he's like investigating something, and he's talking to all of his old, cops on the beat to try and figure this out. Like, Jonah wants to do good. He's just, for whatever reason, Spider-Man clouds that judgment.
Yeah.
He like does a lot of good things for Peter. Going back to the 90s cartoon, like, yeah, don't tell Parker I did this. I don't want him thinking I like him.
Yeah.
Or I don't want him knowing that I like him.
Or when he gets him the rundown van for his freaking wedding present. Just because he's trying to outdo was it Norman Osborn? I can't remember who he was trying to outdo, but he's like, no, trust me, I got you something better than this busted up van. But
Peter didn't have a car, so
yeah.
huh?
Yeah. I will say though, genuinely one of the best villain transformations in like all of superheroes and superhero movies is in 3, and it's when Flint becomes Sandman.
That's something else about this movie. Yes,
That
I'm with
scene
you
is
on that.
beautiful. Oh my lord.
Spider-Man 3 tried to do too fucking much. You had to fight New Goblin Harry, the Sandman, and Venom.
Mm-hmm.
That is too fucking much for one movie.
From what I understand, supposedly Venom was a studio mandate. Supposedly. That he didn't want to do originally.
Okay.
Because they did announce a Spider-Man 4 that was actually starting to get stuff going and had characters announced, and then they canned it.
Yeah. People wanted Venom. I wanted Venom.
Yeah.
You know, like that is, like I said, that was the mecca of where does a Spider-Man movie go? It goes to Venom. It goes to symbiotes.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
That's Spider-Man. That's what you're supposed to do. Yes, it's a bare basic take, but I grew up with Spider-Man. That's how we feel, you know. But
it's one of those things that I'm not trying to say that not too much was going on in the point here, but this is one thing, and this is one where I've had some good conversations about how this stuff happens. Okay, so in Spider-Man 3, there's 3 villains, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many villains are in Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
We talk about that. There's 3.
No, there's more than 3.
Or more than 3. There's 3 ones I remember, but yeah.
There is Pierce, there is Batroc the Leaper, there is Crossbones, there's Hydra, there's Arnim Zola, and there's one other. There's like 6 villains in that movie. Do you know what the difference is? That movie was written better.
Yep.
And it's like, if you can't write all of this crap into the movie, don't have it.
You know, and that's also the thing is, certain writers can just write, like you were saying, they write multiple things better. Whoever wrote Spider-Man 3
wasn't good. It just wasn't good.
Could not write, you know, if it would have been 1, maybe 2, if it would have been the Goblin and Venom, you could have been okay.
Yeah, or what I feel what they were going for mostly, because you can feel that Venom is very much an afterthought, because they were trying to have the tie-in on Uncle Ben and then the tie-in and getting rid of Harry. I honestly think that if you would have just had Goblin and Flint have their stuff go out, and then he's still kind of like in the dumps about Harry dying to where he's not all there, and then the next movie you get Venom because he's at the most worst part of his life. You could have done that.
People were just ready for Venom. People were ready for Venom, and
for me, if you have
by
Venom,
God, we were all going to get Venom.
For me,
careful
if
what
you
you
have
wish
Venom,
for.
it needs to just be Venom. You don't share movies with Venom in them. It should just be him.
Yeah.
To me, anyway, unless Venom like kills a low-lame hero that no one, or a no-name villain that like nobody cares about, it needs to just be Venom. That's why you'll have the cartoons have 7 episodes straight that are only Venom.
Mm-hmm.
Because that character soaks up that much if you want to do him correctly.
We went into complaining about the atrocity that was Spider-Man 3, and that's one, like I said, it's the popular opinion. I agree with the popular opinion on this one.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Part of the reason why I don't like the nostalgia critic is him trying to justify that movie, and I'm like, no. And then being a dick, and kind of being a dick about it too. Like, you know, you guys just can't pick up on this. Like, no, we know it's bad, there, buddy.
No, it's bad.
But I mentioned, because we've completely went off the rails, complain about that. The scene between, you know, that I agreed with him on, which was, you know, it was after 9/11. This was fine, the New Yorkers one. But the way they do it in 2 is so much better.
Oh, 100%.
When they're all kind of on his side and he loses his mask on the train, and everybody sees him, and then they just kind of nobody knows the good thing about living in New York and being who Peter Parker is. No one's going to know who you are.
Absolutely.
And unless you you're a complete and utter terrible person, even if you kind of like do like, oh, that's Peter from class, or that's Peter from high school, you're gonna go like, I won't, you're gonna be like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
like we won't tell anybody, you know.
Yeah.
They either didn't know who he was, or they're just gonna be like, okay, whatever.
Or if they would have had a scene where someone went to Jameson about and he went, Parker's not Spider-Man, you're an idiot, get out of my office.
Mhm. Yeah, have like the one asshole like, there's no way in hell he's Spider-Man. Get out of my office.
I would have known this.
Kind of make J. Jonah Jameson sound like Vince McMahon, and that's a tremendous insult to J. Jonah Jameson.
To
But
a
it is
degree,
kind
though,
of, yeah.
it's kind of true. It's people when they do a bad impersonation of Vince. That's kind of what that term for
I know.
is.
I like
Brr.
Jonah a little. I kind of like Jonah a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit more, But that was such a great scene,
Oh, yeah.
and like I said, it kind of wasn't as on the nose, so it was better. But both are good, both work. I don't care what anyone says.
But also one scene from that before I can't forget it is one of my favorite things to see on a TikTok is when he's in the backyard and the neighbor kid is like talking with Aunt May about the garage sale and stuff, and she has he's like, everybody loves heroes, they love them, scream their names, they'll wait in the rain for just a couple of seconds to tell someone to let them know that they helped them hold on. That Aunt May speech is fucking phenomenal. Her, again, can't remember the actress' name, but she was so good as Aunt May. To the point of where people went delusional when Marissa Tomei, who was 55, I think, when she was cast as Aunt May in the Tom Holland movies, where they're like, why doesn't she look like a great-great-great-grandmother? Because it's his aunt, not his grandmother.
People are just used to extremely elderly Aunt May and not very attractive cougar Aunt May.
Yes, Aunt May, who is old enough to be his grandmother, who just happened to age a lot better than most people.
Yeah. People are used to, oh, sweet old lady Aunt May died. Damn, Aunt May!
So much so that they made her dress more baggy in the Spider-Man movies. I noticed that. She looked aggressively, like purposely less attractive than she did in Civil War, where she had her hair all straightened up, she's wearing tight clothing, looking all great, and they progressively had her wear more raggedy clothes in the other Spider-Man movies to, like, not accentuate her curves.
I know we're not talking about the MCU here, but I loved the relationship Happy had with Aunt May.
Yeah.
Like, I know it ended up in tragedy, but
it was really good.
Happy finding some sort of love and no pun intended happiness in his life at some point was nice. And then it made it all the more tragic when it was done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They were asking how he's like, did you know her? He's like, yeah. Just talking. Oh my gosh, but that's a toll for another thing. If we're done with Spider-Man, there's one set of movies that I would like to talk about a little bit before we leave.
Yeah, we got time. We can. I'll allow it.
I really liked that first Ghost Rider. I know it's bad, but I liked it.
This was. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. We haven't even gotten into the Fantastic Four movies, but
no.
Do we even want to?
That's a whole kettle of fish. I will tell you that. Okay, Ghost Rider movie, like
yeah. Please, you like it? The floor is yours. I have nothing.
It genuinely looked good, in my opinion. It was very cliched, very like stylized for that time period, and it was whatever. Thought it looked great. Stylization, everything was fantastic. Nick Cage is fucking Nick Cage. And
Kevin Smith literally said the same thing.
Yeah, and
yeah. Tim Burton, Batman, Nick Cage, fucking Nick Cage.
It's Nick Cage.
Literally same quote. Yeah.
It's Nick Cage is Nick Cage. Anyway, but yeah, I liked it. Some of the fight scenes were cool. Some of the evaporation, the pennant stare, how they did that in there was really good. Just, yeah. That's one of those that I can look back on fondly, where I'm being like, I understand this is not a masterpiece, but I get a very good kick out of it.
Yeah.
So I just want to at least get that out there. The one I'm going to, not a lot, understand me, not a lot, partially defend one character and how they are portrayed a teeny bit in those Fantastic Four movies. People like to bitch about how in the new Fantastic Four movie that Sue stops Galactus like in his tracks for a while and like redirects him. That Sue has been in the Invisible Woman for damn near a decade. In the Fantastic Four movies, I don't even think she is the Invisible Woman for 6 months. And they're complaining she's having trouble holding up a Ferris wheel that weighs multiple tons. Because her nose bleeds a little. They're like, look how fucking weak they made Sue. She hasn't been the character for more than 6 months, maybe. How about we calm down just slightly and think in context and a little bit of brain cell?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
The Fantastic Four movies are the epitome of they exist.
They are.
You know,
and they hate
like
giving Doctor Doom his original looking powers.
Yeah. You know, those are the things that make me not like them. But I can, you know, given what we talked about earlier, you know, that was the worst superhero movie ever. No, they're not.
They're not great, but they're not that bad.
Yeah.
They're just there. They exist.
Yeah.
Like Chris Evans as Johnny Storm is a great pick.
Yeah. And I love how in Deadpool versus Wolverine you see him like, we got kept. No, he's Johnny Storm. Like, that was so well done.
Bro, I lost my shit, and then I went to watch that with a friend who is a giant Deadpool fan. He's going through all this, and he's like, he avoided everything. And that had been my third time seeing it, and it just all of a sudden he looks, I'm like, you're not gonna like where it happens next. And he's like Captain America, and all of a sudden he goes around his seat, looks at me, and he goes, "Is that?" And he goes, and he just sees me smiling, and he goes, he goes flame on. He just screamed in his chair.
That was a way that people being in on, like, because that's kind of one of my big gripes is when anything, wrestling, comic books, when you feel like you gotta be too in on things, it takes some of the fun away. I might know it, but it still doesn't make it as fun. Yes, there are times where it works. Deadpool as a whole, like, that's all the character is. Mm-hmm. So that's
and it works.
That's fine in small doses to me. That's not saying that I don't like Deadpool. It's just kind of like I can only tolerate so much Deadpool at a time, and I don't think anybody else needs to take anything away from Deadpool. Like, do not copy Deadpool at all.
No.
But like, that's one where being kind of in on the joke is like, yes. That whole movie is like, okay, this one's fine. You don't need to be in on the joke and many other things in fandom.
No. Flame on! Say what now?
You know.
But yeah, the only thing I will say though about being god awful, they have one of the worst portrayals of an adaptation of a comic book villain in history. They made Galactus a giant fart cloud.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is awful. That is one of the worst. But like for everything else, no.
Yeah. And like their version of Silver Surfer was actually genuinely awesome. It was Lawrence Fishburne, if I remember correctly, was voicing him. He was spectacular. The way he was animated, the way he was colored, everything was just top notch. The voice acting, everything was awesome. And even the suits weren't horrible for back then. They were skin-tight latex that made them look good, is what it is. But, you know, it was just fine.
The only thing that I didn't, and this is just me, they're not my favorite, but I do like the Fantastic Four. I didn't get the vibe in those movies that one of the big things that is a big trope of the Fantastic Four comics is they're a family, and how much Reed it haunts Reed what he did to Ben, or like, you know, by including Ben, how he feels like look at what I've done to my best friend. you know, and while yes, Johnny giving Ben some shit is just on pace for Johnny,
Mhm.
you know, I don't feel like in those movies that you explore how much Reed is bothered by that. And then on the flip side, how good of a person Ben is that he does not hold it against him.
Yeah, they do a lot better version of that in the MCU Fantastic Four movie. They
Yeah.
do a much better version of that. Ben is phenomenal in that. But yeah,
You know,
it's one of
because
those.
that is like one of the big core pieces is Reed has such guilt, and Ben's like, "Hey, it's fine.
It
Like,
happens, man.
not you. It's not you. Do not beat yourself up." And Reed won't listen to that because he's like, "But I did it.
Yeah.
I don't care what you tell me. I'm gonna get. I'm gonna fix you."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like the little bit, even though it's cliched as hell, that like even after he gets fixed, he goes back into the machine to save everyone. I was like, I saw that even when I was younger. I saw that coming from a freaking mile away. I'm like, he's gonna fix him, and he's gonna go back in it and save him at the end. I get it, but yeah, it was. Those are great parts. It's just I don't get what was such a hard on they had for making sure that Doctor Doom was not a studied, like, mythological, just. What did they have against such the mysticism behind him where he's like, no, let's give him electrical powers?
I don't know. That's
What?
one where I'm like, yeah.
What? What? Who? Why said that? Why didn't you change anybody else's powers? Why did it have to. Electrical powers? And, like, I get the reason. Everybody else got random powers. Why can't it be? But it's just. So much so that they did it again in the reboot where they just gave him the force to blow up people's heads. What they had so much against making him A, look like Doom, and then B, have the powers of Doom was so weird to me. They just couldn't do it to save their own
Yeah,
lives.
I can't. I mean, I'm not like big, like, I don't have a big attachment to Doctor Doom to like feel like you do, but to feel as
I
passionately
don't
as you do.
either. I just
No,
thought it was so
but I hear
weird.
what you're saying. I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
and I agree with it.
Yeah, like, I'm not a big Doom fanboy or whatever. I'm just like, I don't get what the hard on was for two different series of Fantastic Four in a row that you went out of your way to make sure he didn't act like Doctor Doom. It's just so weird. It's so weird. Because they didn't do that with anybody else in those movies. None. And they didn't do that with any other villains at that time outside of, like, the look of Galactus, yes, but it was still a world devourer.
Yeah. The Fantastic Four is just always. It's always been a movie, even in the new incarnation, where it's like, you're one thing. You're so close, but then you make like this big colossal error that it makes it so far. That's the best way I can describe all Fantastic Four movies. Is like you're right there. You know, you just need to hit this. You need to hit this putt from here to there into the hole. It's an easy putt. You should hit it, and then instead of you just just tapping it in, just tapping it in, just a little taparoo. You get your freaking driver out and go, whoa, and then you hit it, another 300 feet away that it lands in the freaking bottom of the lake. That's the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, and like,
Yeah.
they made them to make them, and then like that second one again, that second series they made it because they didn't want to lapse the rights, and then that was the one that they let the rights lapse on.
I
And
haven't even seen that like second The lame duck one. I haven't even watched. I had no desire to.
I'm going to tell you right now a thing that's going to make you want to puke. Do you know where Ben gets the term clobbering time from?
No.
His abusive older brother would say it before he beat the shit out of him. And the worst part about that whole movie is the beginning, outside of that part, the beginning, like, 20 minutes is a fucking masterpiece. Genuine fucking masterpiece. One thing that, and John Schnepp, a giant, big nerd, the guy that made Superman Lives What Happened, that made the documentary about that Superman movie that never happened. Big, in-depth, huge comic book nerd. There was this part where I agree with them, where it's kind of, you never get to see that in reality the Fantastic Four are a science experiment gone wrong.
Yeah.
And there's this fantastic scene where after they all get back, they have them get their powers in the negative zone versus a solar flare in there, which I was fine with because it makes them establish the negative zone really early, which is still cool. You can just say something happened there. And then that's where Doom gets his stuff too, but he gets left there and comes back when they go back to the negative zone. But there's a point where they're in this government facility getting looked at because obviously they're all fucked. And you can hear like different screams coming from vents because none of them know what's going on with themselves. And then Reed gets up out of his thing because he stretches out of it and is crawling through a vent and is looking on into these rooms that what has become of all of his incredibly close friends. And it's a horror show, but it's done so well that that's been the most, like, it's kind of actually horrific what happens to them at first. But you never get a realistic interpretation of how horrific it really is, because they like the kind of happiness, sunshine, and rainbows, we're a family kind of thing. Yeah. You never get this. Yeah, you get that. You never get to see the, no, this fucking sucked at first. Something bad happened to us. He can't stop being on fire. He's a fucking pile of rocks. Like, they actually show that, and it's awesome. And then the movie continues to shit its pants for another hour. It started out so good. And this is the only movie, and I mean it with all 100% certainty. Every single trailer they show for that movie, and I mean this, no hyperbole, not a single fucking scene from any of the trailers are in the movie. None. None of them are. There's whole different plot points of like Ben being dropped out of a helicopter and bombing a base. It just never happens. There's just all this shit that I was like, because I rewatched all the trailers after I saw the movie, like fucking none of this is in there. None of it is. It's a great hate watch, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'd say like, and the thing that everybody got all mad about, which was, a black actor playing Johnny and him just being an adoptive, brother. That didn't bother me in the slightest. It was all the other things that I heard about it where it's just like, if you like the Fantastic Four, do not go watch it.
Yeah, that was the thing that genuinely in my heart bugged me the most. I'm like, hey, guess what? Because of divorce, my dad's side of the family doesn't talk to me. A lot of my mom's side of the family are absolute morons that can't get along with each other. Most of the people who I consider family are not blood related to me at all. And the people who are like, they can't be close because he's adopted. Go fuck yourself. And you know what you learn in the movie? Is that Sue is the one that's adopted. But everybody just automatically assumed it was the black guy.
Yeah.
But the genuine funniest thing in this, before we go, the genuine funniest part of that movie is they had to do a bunch of reshoots, but it was way later, and that's why a bunch of the movie's way different. And Rooney Mara, is it Rooney Mara? It's one of the Maras that is one of the sisters that plays Sue. She had naturally blonde hair for when they shot it, but she had different hair color for a movie she was shooting at the same time, so she had to wear a blonde wig, and it's very noticeable. And there's this shot where they're looking for Reed because he ran away, where they're cutting back and forth between Johnny and Sue, and in the same scene, it goes from the original hair color to the wig, and then back to the original hair color in between the cuts.
Thank you for reminding me why I didn't want to watch this movie.
It's a great hate watch, trust me. It's really funny. If you ever want to hate watch a movie, That one's at the top of the charts.
Batman and Robin's my hate watch. My wife's gonna kill me for saying that, but she likes the movie.
I watch Batman and Robin as a genuine comedy. That's how I look at it when I watch it. I'm looking at it to laugh.
Me too.
Yes.
Boom. Boom. All right, well, thank you all for tuning in on our very ADD written look at everything that happened when we were in grade school and junior high. Marvel movies. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Follow me on the Twitter X cesspool at athletic_geek89 and Instagram at athleticgeek89. Social media?
You can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero, mainly on Twitch and YouTube. I am back to consistently streaming now. And on my Instagram, you can find me over at Organoid Zero. I'm currently putting together 2 new cosplays, so that'll be switching up. And I was just recently at Anime Milwaukee, so there's photos from that. And then I'll be going to Anime Detour over in Minneapolis. So there'll be stuff from that up in there too.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next time.